Sam C. Sam C. Okay, guys, we got story time with Ronnie. Today's story, we're gonna continue on with The Time Machine, part 15 for us. Now, what are we doing here? This here drive, well, we still continuing on our trip back into Phoenix from Big Lake, and it's been snowing, so we're gonna get some more snowy drive, and we're picking this up somewhere outside of McNairy, and we'll end up going through McNairy and all the way through Pine Top and Show Low, and we're gonna end it right there in Show Low in the middle of a snowstorm. Okay, now this story, when we left this thing off, he had gotten away. He had escaped the Morlocks barely, and he went way far ahead in time, and it looks like the sun is probably dead, and it's all red, a Hulk, and all this and that, and let me just pick it up here, and all the trace of life that I could see at first was the intensely green vegetation that covers every projecting point on their southeastern face. It was the same rich green that one sees on forest moss or on the lichen in caves. Plants which like these grow in a perpetual twilight. The machine was standing on a sloping beach. The sea stretched away to the southwest to rise into a sharp, bright horizon against the wan sky. There were no breakers and no waves, for not a breath of wind was stirring. Only a slightly oily swell rose and fell like a gentle breathing, and showed that the eternal sea was still moving and living. And among the margin where the water sometimes broke was a thick incrustation of salt, pink under the lurid sky. There was a sense of oppression in my head, and I noticed that I was breathing very fast. The sensation reminded me of my only experience of mountaineering, and from that I judged the air to be more rarefied than it is now. Far away, up the desolate slope, I heard a harsh scream. What? Let's take a look at this road. Oh yeah. Now, yeah, you saw that view pop up there, that Jeep view, the Toad view. Here it is again. And I didn't bother syncing it up, so it just, there's just nothing to see. We roll it around a few times just to kind of show it that it's there, but it's snowing, and there's ice and snow and stuff on the window, so there you go. It doesn't really matter where it is. It's gonna look like that. And you know what, I just lost all of my spot. Okay, there it is. Air to be more rarefied. Oh, right, the harsh scream up the slope. What? Far away, up the desolate slope, I heard a harsh scream, and I saw a thing like a huge white butterfly go slanting and fluttering up into the sky, and circling, disappear over some low hillocks beyond. The sound of its voice was so dismal that I shivered and seated myself more firmly upon the machine. Looking around me again, I saw that quite near, where I had taken to be a reddish mass of rock. What? Oh, hang on a second. Let's back that up and rerun that one again there, Chief. Looking around me again, I saw that, quite near, what I had taken to be a reddish mass of rock was moving slowly towards me. Then I saw the thing was really a monstrous crab-like creature. Can you imagine? A crab as large as yonder table, with as many legs, moving slowly and uncertainly, its big claws swaying, its long antennae like carters' whips waving and feeling, and its stalk-tipped eyes gleamed at you on either side of its metallic front. Its back was corrugated and ornamented with ungainly bosses, and a greenish incrustation blotched it here and there. I could see that many pulps of its complicated mouth flickered and feeling as it moved. As I stared at this sinister apparition crawling towards me, I felt a tickling on my cheek, as though a fly had alighted there. I tried to brush it away with my hand, but in a moment it returned, and almost immediately came another by my ear. I struck at this and caught something thread-like. It was drawn swiftly out of my hand. With a frightful qualm, I turned and saw that I had grasped the antenna of another monster crab that stood just behind me. Its evil eyes were wriggling on their stalks. Its mouth was all alive with appetite, and its vast, ungainly claws, smeared with a algal slime. Let me say that again. Algal. Let's go with no, there's only one L there, man. I have no idea. Some kind of slime where it descended upon me. In a moment my hand was on the lever, and I had placed a month between myself and these monsters. But I was still on the same beach, and I saw them distinctly now. As soon as I stopped, dozens of them seemed to be crawling here and there in the somber light among the foliated sheets of intense green. I cannot convey the sense of abominable desolation that hung over the world. The red eastern sky, the northward blackness, and the salt Dead Sea, the stony beach crawling with these foul, slow-stirring monsters, the uniform poisonous-looking green of the lichenous plants, the thin air that hurts one's lungs, all contributed to an appalling effect. I moved 100 years, and there was the same red sun, a little larger, a little duller, at the same dying sea, the same chill air, and the same crowd of unearthly crustacea creeping in and out among the green weed and red rocks. And in the western sky I saw a curved, pale line like a vast new moon. So I traveled, stopping ever... Hang on a second, let's take a look at this road, because I am making a whole lot of porridge out of this here. Alright. Oh boy, hey? Oh yeah, see that toad view? Oh, it's not in sync. It's not in sync. Yeah, it's not in sync. It's not even the Backstreet Boys back there. Alright, are they the same thing? You know, I don't even know. Or is that Menuno? No, that you eat that. Oh shit. Here we go. Dial it back quick here now. Oh, I lost my spot. It's just going to get worse. Okay, we have recovered. All right, so I moved on 100 years, and there was the same red sun, a little larger, a little duller, the same dying sea, the same chill air, and the same crowd of unearthly crustacea creeping in and out among the green weed and the red rocks. And in the westward sky, I saw a curved, pale line like a vast new moon. So I traveled, stopping ever and again, in great strides of 1,000 years or more, drawn on by the mystery of the earth's fate, watching with a strange fascination the sun grow larger and duller in the westward sky, and the life of the old earth ebb away. At last, more than 30 million years hence, the huge red-hot dome of the sun had come to obscure nearly 1/10 part of the darkling heavens. Then I stopped once more, for the crawling multitude of crabs had disappeared, and the red beach, save for its livid green, liverworts and lichens, seemed lifeless. And now it was flecked with white. A bitter cold assailed me. Rare white flashes ever and again came eddying down. To the northeastward, the glare of snow lay under the starlight of the sable sky, and I could see an undulating crest of hillocks, pinkish white. There were fringes of ice along the sea margin, with drifting masses further out, but the main expanse of the salt ocean, all bloody under the eternal sunset, was still unfrozen. Whew. Unfrozen. That's not what's happening here. Yeah, the big, snow is never really a big deal. It's at this transition time. It was, I guess, fall. I was going to say late fall, early winter. I don't know what it is. It's 100 and some degrees still in the valley. So, anyway. The ground temperature is still, you can see it's still above freezing. Air temperature is, 30 degrees or so, 31 degrees. So that's bad news right there. And then the ground temperature is slightly warmer than that. So everything is still melting when it hits that until it just gets a little bit colder, and then it just kind of turns to a nice little invisible sheen of ice, otherwise known as black ice. And it's so very slick. You got to be real careful watching for that. One of the clues is you watch, the sides of your windshield and stuff, and around your windshield wipers. If the water starts to turn to ice there, you can tell that outside temperature is dropping a little bit, and you'll start to see little bits of evidence on it on the road. All right, that's enough of that. Let's get back to this. So the sunset, the water was still unfrozen. We got a long drive today. We're not even in McNary, so we're gonna just chat it up. I looked about me to see if any traces of animal life remained. A certain indefinable apprehension still kept me in the saddle of the machine, but I saw nothing moving in earth or sky or sea. The green slime on the rocks alone testified that life was not extinct. A shallow sandbank that appeared in the sea, and the water had receded from the beach. I fancied I saw some black object flopping about upon this bank, but it became motionless as I looked at it, and I judged that my eye had been deceived, and that the black object was merely a rock. The stars in the sky were intensely bright, and seemed to me to twinkle very little. No, it's twinkle, twinkle, little star, not twinkle very little, all you stars. Maybe write that one down there and get another t-shirt going. All right, what are we looking at here? Oh, I know exactly where we is. We got one more little hill, a dale, and a little turn, and up a hill, and then we're at McNary. All right. Suddenly, I noticed that the circular westward outline of the sun had changed, that a concavity, a bay, had appeared in the curve. I saw this grow larger. For a minute, perhaps, I stared aghast at this blackness that was creeping over the day. And then I realized that an eclipse was beginning. Either the moon or the planet Mercury was passing across the sun's disk. Naturally, at first, I took it to be the moon. But there's much to incline me to believe that what I really saw was the transit of an inner planet passing very near to the Earth. The darkness grew apace. So hang on, we'll get back to this. We got time to get back to this. I want to see some of this road. This is one of my favorite roads, and I'm gonna look at it. All right. Oh yeah, see, the little town in McNary. I'm sure there's a bit written on a bathroom wall about the little town of McNary. I don't think we need to get into that, though. All right. Yeah, there's a little park there on the left. I've been tempted, because sometimes, I'm traveling by myself. The big rig is, you always want to be scoping out places where you can easily go in and out. See, that road is, it's reasonably rough. It's fairly rough. It's not as rough as everything shaking and making all that noise would indicate, though. And we've done our best to try to mitigate most of that. The biggest problem is it's just that there's just a lot of surface area there to deal with, and the acoustics are pretty bad. Anyway, that's enough of that. All right, so back to this story. The darkness grew apace. A cold wind began to blow in freshening gusts from the east, and the showering white flakes in the air increased in number. From the edge of the sea came a ripple and a whisper. Beyond the lifeless sounds of the world, beyond these lifeless sounds, the world was silent. Silent? It would be hard to convey the stillness of it. All of the sounds of man, the bleating of sheep, the crying of birds, the hum of insects, the stir that makes the background of our lives, all that was over. As the darkness thickened, the eddying flakes grew more abundant, dancing before my eyes, in front of the air more intense. At last, one by one, swiftly, one after the other, the white peaks of the distant hills vanished into blackness. The breeze rose to a moaning wind. I saw the black central shadow of the eclipse sweeping towards me. In another moment, the pale stars alone were visible. All else was rayless obscurity. The sky was absolutely black. Wow. Wow, that paints a really, really scary picture there. Okay. Let's take a peekaboo where we're at here. Oh, we're almost at the casino. Okay. A horror of this great darkness came to me. The cold that smote to my marrow and the pain I felt in breathing overcame me. I shivered, and a deadly nausea seized me. Then, like a red-hot bow in the sky, appeared the edge of the sun. I got off the machine to recover myself. That's probably a bad idea. I felt giddy and incapable of facing the return journey. Wow. As I stood sick and confused, I saw again a moving thing upon the shoal. There was no mistake now that it was a moving thing. against the red water of the sea. It was a round thing, the size of a football, perhaps, or it may be bigger, and tentacles trailed down from it. It seemed black against the weltering blood red water, and it was hopping fitfully about. Then I felt I was fainting, but a terrible dread of lying helpless in that remote and awful twilight sustained me while I clambered upon the saddle. Ooh. So there we go. That was chapter 11. We're going to roll into chapter 12. We'll just take a look at this little drive here. We rolling into Pine Top here, and we don't get much further, and all of a sudden the snowstorm is back with a vengeance, and boy, oh boy, it gets interesting. We take the little cut off the little unofficial ring road there, and it's a pretty snowy little drive. All right, so let's get back to this story now. We're done chapter 11, on to chapter 12. They don't have names, they just got numbers. So I came back from a long time. I must have been insensible upon the machine. The blinking succession of the days and nights was resumed. The sun got golden again. The sky blue. I breathed with greater freedom. The fluctuating contours of the land ebbed and flowed. The hand spun backwards upon the dials. At last I saw again the dim shadows of houses, the evidences of decadent humanity. Decadent? Decadent, there it is. These too changed and passed, and others came. Presently, when the million dial was at 0, I slackened speed. I began to recognize our own petty and familiar architecture. The thousands hand ran back to the starting point. The night and day flapped slower and slower. The old walls of the laboratory came round me very gently. Now, I slowed the mechanism down. I saw one thing that seemed odd to me. I think I have told you that when I set out, before my velocity became very high, Mrs. Watchett had walked across the room, traveling as it seemed to me like a rocket. As I returned, I passed again across that minute when she traversed the laboratory, but now her every motion appeared to be the exact inversion of her previous ones. The door at the lower end opened, and she glided quietly up the laboratory, back foremost, and disappeared behind a door by which she had previously entered. Just before that, I seemed to see Hillier for a moment, but he passed like a flash. Then I stopped the machine, and I saw about me again the old familiar laboratory. My tools, my appliances, just as I had left them. I got off the thing very shakily and sat down upon my bench. For several minutes I trembled violently. Then I became calmer. Around me was my old workshop again, exactly as it had been. I might have slept there, and the whole thing have been a dream. Let's take a look at this dreamy little road. Oh yeah, we just cruising along here. Nothing special. Oh, it's a nice little town there, that little Pine Top. Okay. And yet, not exactly the thing had started. The whole thing had been a dream. And yet, not exactly. The thing had started from the southeast corner of the laboratory. It had come to rest again in the northwest against the wall where you saw it. That gives you the exact distance from my little lawn to the pedestal of the White Sphinx, into which the Morlocks had carried my machine. For a time, my brain went stagnant. Presently, I got up and came through the passage here, limping, because my heel was still painful, and feeling sorely begrimed. I saw the Pall Mall Gazette on the table by the door. I found the date was indeed today, and looking at the timepiece, saw the hour was almost 8 o'clock. I heard your voices and the clatter of plates. I hesitated. I felt so sick and weak. Then I sniffed good, wholesome meat and opened the door on you. You know the rest. I washed and dined, and now I'm telling you the story. Oh yeah, here comes that snow now. I know, he said, after a pause, that all this will be absolutely incredible to you. To me, the one incredible thing is that I am here tonight in this old familiar room, looking into your friendly faces and telling you these strange adventures. He looked at the medical man. No, I cannot expect you to believe it. Take it as a lie or a prophecy. Say I dreamed it in the workshop. Consider I have been speculating upon the destinies of our race until I have hatched this fiction. Treat my assertion of its truth as a mere stroke of art to enhance its interest, and taking it as a story, what do you think of it? He took up his pipe and began, in his old accustomed manner, to tap with it nervously upon the bars of the grate. There was a momentary stillness. Then chairs began to creak and shoes to scrape upon the carpet. I took my eyes off the time traveler's face and looked around at his audience. They were in the dark. And wait a second. Okay, I messed this all up. I took my eyes off the time traveler's face and looked around at his audience. They were in the dark, and little spots of color swam before them. The medical man seemed absorbed in the contemplation of our host. The editor was looking hard at the end of his cigar, the sixth. The journalist fumbled for his watch. The others, as far as I remember, were motionless. The editor stood up with a sigh. What a pity it is you're not a writer of stories, he said, putting his hand on the time traveler's shoulder. You don't believe it? Well, I thought not. The time traveler turned to us. Where are the matches? He said. He lit one and spoke over his pipe, puffing. To tell you the truth, I hardly believe it myself. And yet, his eye fell with a mute inquiry upon the withered white flowers upon the little table. Then he turned over the hand holding his pipe, and I saw he was looking at some half-healed scars on his knuckles. The medical man rose, came to the lamp, and examined the flowers. He's saying the flower is odd. He said. The psychologist leant forward to see, holding out his hand for a specimen. I'm hanged if it isn't 1:45, said the journalist. How shall we get home? Plenty of cabs at the station, said the psychologist. It's a curious thing, said the medical man, but I certainly don't know the natural order of these flowers. May I have them? The time traveler hesitated. Then suddenly, "Certainly not." "Where did you really get them?" said the medical man. The time traveler put his hand to his head. He spoke like one who was trying to keep hold of an idea that eluded him. "They were put in my pocket by Weena when I traveled into time." He stared round the room. "I'm damned if it isn't all going. This room and you and the atmosphere every day is too much for my memory. Did I ever make a time machine? Or a model of a time machine? Or is it all only a dream? They say life is a dream, a precious poor dream at times, but I can't stand another that won't fit. It's madness. And where did the dream come from? I must look at that machine, if there is one." He got up. He caught up the lamp swiftly and carried it, flaring red, through the door into the corridor. We followed him. There, in the flickering light of the lamp, was the machine, sure enough, squat, ugly, and askew. The thing of brass, ebony, ivory, and translucent glimmering quartz, solid to the touch, for I put my hand and felt the rail of it, and with brown spots and smears upon the ivory and bits of grass and moss upon the lower parts, though, and one rail bent awry. Oh boy, yeah. So yeah, we wheeling around Sholo, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. But we get through it. Here's that turnoff I was talking about. I don't know that it saves you any time, but it definitely saves you from fighting with traffic and stopping at lights every block and a half. It's like every 13 seconds or something you're stopping at a light. Okay, solid to the touch and bent awry. The rail is bent awry. The time traveler put the lamp down on the bench and ran his hand along the damaged rail. "It's all right now," he said. "The story I told you was true. I'm sorry to have brought you out here in the cold." He took up the lamp and, in an absolute silence, we returned to the smoking room. He came into the hall with us and helped the editor on with his coat. The medical man looked into his face and, with a certain hesitation, told him he was suffering from overwork, at which he laughed hugely. I remember him standing in the open doorway, bawling good night. I shared a cab with the editor. He thought the tale a gaudy lie. For my own part, I was unable to come to a conclusion. The story was so fantastic and incredible, the telling so credible and sober, I lay awake most of the night thinking about it. I determined to go next day and see the time traveler again. I was told he was in the laboratory, and being on easy terms in the house, I went up to him. The laboratory, however, was empty. I stared for a minute at the time machine and put out my hand and touched the lever. At that, the squat, substantial-looking mass swayed like a bow shaken by the wind. Its instability startled me extremely. I had a queer reminiscence of the childish days when I used to be forbidden to meddle. I came back through the corridor. The time traveler met me in the smoking room. He was coming from the house. He had a small camera under one arm and a knapsack under the other. He laughed when he saw me and gave me an elbow to shake. "I'm frightfully busy," said he, "with that thing in there." "But is it not some hoax?" I said. "Do you really travel through time?" "Really and truly I do." And he looked frankly into my eyes. He hesitated, his eye wandering about the room. I only want half an hour, he said. I know why you came, and it's awfully good of you. There's some magazines here. If you'll stop to lunch, I'll prove you this time traveling up to the hilt. Specimens and all. If you'll forgive my leaving you now. I consented, hardly comprehending then the full import of his words, and he nodded and went on down the corridor. I heard the door of the laboratory slam, seated myself in a chair, and took up a daily paper. What was he going to do before lunchtime? Then suddenly I was reminded by an advertisement that I had promised to meet Richardson, the publisher, at 2. I looked at my watch and saw that I could barely save that engagement. I got up and went down the passage to tell the time traveler. Uh-oh. All right, let's take a peeky-boo here. Oh, yeah. Not much to see, is there? Yeah, that's why I kind of quit throwing up the Jeep view there because, yeah, you get it, right? There's just not a whole lot to see, and that's okay. I like that. All right, let's take a look. Oh, boy. I don't even know where we's at. Way over here on the end. We almost done this thing. I knew I had this thing almost timed. I lost my spot anyway, so we ain't got no chance of getting back to it. All right, that's going to be about the end of this segment here. We'll get a little further down the hill next time, guys. Thanks so much for coming and listening to the story, and we'll just run into you next time. We'll give you just a few minutes of Rosie at the end of this thing. Sam C. Okay, Rosie. Come on now, do your thing, girl. Aha, thank you.